Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So we're gonna talk about this. Now, I have watched a couple of reviews of other people talking about Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, and I agree with some things that have been said about it, and I have a lot of feelings. So I want to first say that I am one of those people that thought that 7 books was enough. I didn't feel like there needed to be any more books or anything else done in the Harry Potter world. Of course, I'm a huge fan. I grew up reading the books, going to the midnight releases, going to the movies, and they've been such a huge part of my life, and they've also been a huge part of mine and my husband's relationship. That's how we kind of reconnected, was over Harry Potter. So, I say all that to say that my mixed feelings on this come from a lot of places, and I guess, first of all, was it what I expected it to be? No. Was it horrible, terrible, wish this had never been done? No. So I read this, so I knew it was a play. I knew it was a rehearsal script of a play, and I knew that it was not going to be, you know, that rich, full story with quiet moments that we are used to when it comes to the Harry Potter universe. I'm going to put this down now. So I had not super high expectations going into it. And I think what a lot of people are forgetting with it is that it is a play. And with plays, there are a lot of things that happen in the actual stage show. So you can't really get the same effect from the written play as you get from watching it as a stage show. Now, I think this would be a really fantastic magical stage show. I think I would cry. I think I'd get goosebumps. There are definitely parts of it that I could really visualize what the play would look like and how fantastic it would be. But I don't think that translated into the written script or the written format. I feel like this is one of those things that was never meant to be a book, meant to be read. It was always meant to be watched, and I think that it kind of just, the pressure was there for everybody to get to experience it at the same time, and you know, tickets to a show are expensive. It's only playing in London. And so I think that there were decisions made to make it available to everybody, which, you know, I appreciate because I know that it's going to be a long time before I'm able to actually see the stage show. And yes, I would see it if it eventually comes to the US, or if I am able to go see it in London. I would definitely see it, and I think I'd really enjoy it, like I said. But that all said, it fell flat for me because the characterization wasn't really there, because that's something that the actors would add to. So you'd get a lot more of the characterization from the actors. You'd get a lot more of the rich atmosphere and world from the props, the scenery, the sounds, the staging, all of that. And so again, you miss that in a written format. And I think that was where it really, really failed. But, I mean, not failed, but you know, where it fell flat and it became kind of one-dimensional. And also, I agree, it does read like fan fiction. Do I think it reads like bad fan fiction? Not really. I think it reads like mediocre fan fiction. It definitely reads like this is something that could happen in Harry Potter's future, but do I think it would happen in Harry Potter's future? No. I don't think it's realistic, and frankly, it's not that I don't wish she hadn't gone there, and again, I will point out that this was not written by J.K. Rowling. It is a play based off of a short story that J.K. Rowling wrote, but it was written by John Tiffany and Jack Thorne. So this is not something that J.K. Rowling wrote, and I think that needs to be something that's taken into account as well. Now I'm going to talk about some plot points, so if you haven't read it and you don't want spoilers, you probably want to step away from this video now, because I am going to talk about some spoilers and how I felt about certain things. So yeah, spoilers coming. Okay, so my main beef with this is that I do not in any way buy that Voldemort would have had a child. For several reasons. One, I don't think he would have had sex with anybody. I can't buy that. Like, let's be real here. He was conceived under a love potion. He does not have the capacity to love. He doesn't have passion in that way. And I honestly don't think he would have taken his time out of his evil life to have sex with somebody. And he just was not a character that was even like that awkward hug in the movies between him and Draco. Like, that pretty much embodies how I think that he is with any kind of physical contact. Now, I have heard and from people, and my husband being one of those people, you know, maybe this child was conceived magically. So there was some sort of spell, you know, he regrew a body in book 4 for himself. So why couldn't, you know, they create a child? I'll buy that. That's plausible in J.K. Rowling's world. However, I think that had Voldemort known that there was a child that of his, he would have killed the child. He would have killed the mother. He would have gotten rid of that child because he was single-mindedly focused on being this dark overlord, and he would not have stood the risk of there being a child of his that might later usurp his power. I think that he wouldn't have let that happen at all because he wouldn't see it as furthering his power. He would have seen it as somebody trying to usurp him. So I think that there just is no reality for me in the Harry Potter world that a child of Voldemort's would have survived. Not even to take into the account that I find it really unbelievable that Bellatrix could have given birth to a child and then fought at the Battle of Hogwarts postpartum, like 2 weeks postpartum. Like, to me, I'm like, no, and no. I find all of that just completely implausible. Now, I actually liked the time turner part of it. I've always thought the time turner was really cool and fascinating, and so getting to see it used in a different way was fascinating. And you know, when you play with time, a lot of crazy things can happen. I was never a huge fan of book 4 as far as like the Triwizard Cup, so I didn't really like going back to those scenes. I would have rather have gone back to something else, a different part of the book. I liked when we went back to Godric's Hollow the night that Harry's parents were killed, because I thought that that was something that I would like to see from a different angle, whereas from the Triwizard Cup, I didn't really care to see from a different angle. But I thought that it was, you know, the time turner aspect was interesting, and that there was some stuff that could be done with that. And I liked that they brought in, you know, Cedric back into it and kind of gave him a little bit more, not life, but, you know, brought him back into the story in a way. And then now the alternate realities that are created, a lot of people have been saying, you know, I don't believe that without Ron, Hermione would be this like mean shrew of a woman. I didn't read it as her being a mean shrew. I read it as if Hermione was a professor, she'd be a hard ass. Like, she'd be mean and she would be strict and she would expect the best of everybody. And so I just read that as her being a strong woman who, they never say whether or not she's married or not in that alternate reality, but just a strong woman, as I think that Hermione would be. And then in the other alternate reality where Voldemort is still living, she's still this strong, independent, like basically freedom fighter living underground. And it kind of made me think of, hilariously, Candace in the Phineas and Ferb movie, where it's like there's an alternate reality and Candace is this like badass. That made me think of like that's how I was picturing it, is her being this like badass like freedom fighter general for the underground. That's how I pictured her in that alternate reality. So I didn't really see it as without Ron, she can't be Minister of Magic. I just saw it as, you know, without, just in a different reality, these are the other ways that Hermione would still be a badass, but would be doing something different or would not have achieved necessarily her potential. So I don't know. I didn't read it that way. I thought that they did Ron a disservice because, yeah, he's a jokester and, you know, he can be comic relief, but Ron was definitely a flawed and dimensional character, and in this story he was pretty one-dimensional, which made me a little annoyed. Harry was kind of an asshole, let's be real here. Like, he was book 5 asshole-ish. And I don't know, I liked seeing that side of him as a parent who doesn't know what to do, and as a parent who makes all the wrong decisions, because, you know, that's realistic. Parents make the wrong decisions sometimes. But yeah, I kind of found his characterization a little odd. I really liked that his son, Albus, ended up in Slytherin. I kind of, you know, I was a little shocked at first, but then I was like, yep, I think that would happen. That could totally happen. And I thought it was just kind of a neat thing to happen and to explore, like, what if Harry Potter's son ended up in Slytherin after, you know, he did not want to be in Slytherin, and he almost, you know, was told by the hat he could end up in Slytherin. So I thought that was interesting. I thought the kids were completely just sort of one-dimensional. Scorpius, I really was the only one that I kind of was like, oh, I would want to hear more about him, because I just thought he was so darling, and I liked how through him we see this progression, or this different side of Draco, because I always thought, you know, given a different atmosphere of being raised, that Draco could have ended up being a really different character. And so I liked that we got to see him make the realization that the way he was raised wasn't necessarily right, and that there were other choices to be made, and that he kind of came to this realization that you know, that we saw that he was a lonely kid, because you could tell that sort of in the original books, that he was sort of a lonely kid. And so it was interesting to see that explored, and to see him and Harry interact in a friendly way, because I definitely felt like near the end of the books that there was a little bit of potential for that, as they got older and matured and kind of realized that the way they were brought up, or the things that they were told, wasn't necessarily the right thing in every way. So I thought that relationship was neat. And there were a couple of really cute moments involving Snape and Dumbledore that I liked. So there were definitely things in the book that I enjoyed and that I liked while reading it. And when I finished it, I wasn't disappointed per se. I just sort of was like, did I need it? Not really. And I, you know, just reiterate, I think that 7 books was enough. And if I was going to, if for any reason I wanted to see more out of the Harry Potter world, I personally would have liked to have seen a prequel about the Marauders. Like, that's where I think my interest lies, in finding out more about the world. I am perfectly okay to imagine how I feel that they lived their lives after Hogwarts and how their kids' lives went. I don't need anything else about that, and I don't want anything else about that. I like the open-endedness that we have, and, you know, the epilogue, I was kind of like, okay, sure, whatever. So I really could have done without any sort of exploration into the future, and would have rather gone back in the past and looked at the Marauders and seen that. I think that would make a great, like, novella or a great stage show or something like that. But honestly, I have to say I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars, because the nostalgia factor was there. I liked being able to, you know, read something new about these characters, even if it wasn't the greatest, even if it was pretty flat, because you don't get the same thing that you would get from the stage show, because all of the props and the sounds and the actors' personalities are not there, which is what makes a play so great. So overall, I think I can't wait until I have an opportunity to be able to watch the play, to see it live. But I could have done without the book. That's basically it. This is a long and rambly video to basically say it was okay. Didn't love it, didn't hate it. That's all. I would love to hear what you guys thought about it, if you agree with me on points, if you disagree with me on points, things that you liked, things you didn't like. I would love to discuss it in the comments. I just am fascinated with having this conversation with people, and every time I run into somebody who's read it, we have a different conversation about it. And I think that's a really fun aspect of this as well, even if it wasn't, you know, your cup of tea, even if it wasn't something that needed to happen, or, you know, whatever, it is fun for Harry Potter fans to get together and discuss how they feel about it and why certain things might not be plausible or why they feel like it would be, because I've had some really interesting discussions. So I'd love to have more interesting discussions with you guys in the comments, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!